Let's talk about the 5 things we know about the NFL through week 6. Welcome in, everybody. I am Seth Floyd Hansen. This is the Seth Floyd Show, and the 2024 NFL season has been really drunk so far. This has been one of the weirdest, most upside down seasons through the first 6 weeks that I can remember. So it got me thinking, we don't know a lot. There's still a ton of things out there that are up in the air that we're unsure of. So I wanted to pinpoint at least 5 things that we can feel confident about as NFL fans, as just lovers of football in general. What are the 5 things that we can hang our hat on and feel like, okay, the NFL is drunk right now, but these are 5 things that we can feel pretty confident about. So, number 1, the NFC North is the best division in football, at least through 6 weeks. You have all 4 teams with at least 4 victories, 4 wins. And you've got the Vikings, who are one of the last 2 undefeated teams in the NFL. Vikings 5-0, they're coming off a bye week, playing the Lions going into week 7. Now, there's a couple things I do want to say about the bottom 2 teams. Let's put it this way. The class of the NFC right now has to be the Vikings and the Lions. If I had to put money on it right now, I would say you're going to see a Lions-Vikings NFC Championship game, potentially. That can get screwed up with the seeding. Let's say the Vikings are the 1 seed, 5 seed. Well, if the Lions win their wild card round, it's more than likely that they would play the Vikings in the divisional round. But regardless, right now, those are the 2 best teams in the NFC. That's what it feels like to me. Now, the other 2 teams, you've got the Bears and the Packers. Both teams sitting at 4-2. Now, the Bears have played better. Caleb Williams feels like he's starting to settle in. But I do want to pump the brakes a little bit on the Bears. Their wins so far, I've written down right here, Titans, Rams, Panthers, Jaguars. There's no marquee win in there. That doesn't mean you can just play who's on your schedule. I get it. So I'm not saying the Bears are fake. I'm just saying I want to wait and see before I crown them a playoff team. But they look like they're heading in the right direction, and they're beating teams that you would expect them to beat if they're going to be a playoff contender. So that's encouraging. The Packers are the one I'm having trouble figuring out, because the Packers were everyone's talking about them being a Super Bowl contender this year, challenging for the NFC North. They're kind of, the Vikings are doing what the Packers, everyone thought the Packers were going to do. Now, they've had such a weird season because Jordan Love missed 2 games, but they won those 2 games. And the first 2 games that Jordan Love played this season, he lost. He lost to an Eagles team that really doesn't look that good. I know they're 3-2, but does anyone feel like they're a Super Bowl contender? Are they a juggernaut? I don't even know if they're going to make the playoffs. It doesn't even feel like a lock that the Eagles will make the playoffs. So he lost to them, loses to the Vikings at home, and they weren't, I understand the game finished close, but they were down big in that game. So he lost that game. I know it ended up close, but they were down. I think he threw 3 interceptions in that game. Jordan Love is such an interesting quarterback just because like he's going to make every highlight play you could want to see. Like he can move with his legs. He's got incredible arm talent. He flings the ball downfield like he does incredible things. But he's also going to do dumb things like he did against the Rams. I know they won that game, but where he's like getting sacked in the end zone and he just like flips it up right to their, I guess it was a linebacker, and he scores a pick 6, walks into the end zone. Like he's going to have weird plays like that. And this is why I am like pumping the brakes on the Packers being a Super Bowl contender if Jordan Love is going to continue throwing interceptions like that. It's this craziest stat line. He has played in 4 games. He's got 12 touchdowns, but 6 interceptions. 12 touchdowns in 4 games is incredible. 6 interceptions in 4 games is also atrocious and an incredible stat in its own right. So I'm not real sure what to make. The other stat that needs to be said about the NFC North before we move on, there's only been 1 NFC North matchup through 6 weeks. What that means is, of course, they're going to have higher win totals if the teams are decent because they haven't played each other yet. They haven't beat up on each other yet. The only NFC North matchup we've seen is Packers-Vikings, which the Vikings took care of business on the road. The next one that I know is this Sunday. Okay, you've got the Lions going to Minnesota. Should be a good one. You'll find out a lot more about both those teams because I do think those 2 teams, as of right now, through week 6, are the 2 best teams in the NFC. Number 2, along those lines, the NFC West definitely statistically are the worst division in the NFL right now. You have two teams that look like bottom feeders despite their wins over the 49ers. I know I'm a 49er fan. Shout out Rams. Shout out Cardinals. You guys won. 49ers could not hold on to the lead. But regardless, both of those teams look like they're going to be picking in the top 10. Now, the Rams, of course, it's the injuries. Of course, it's the injuries. But it's always the injuries with the Rams. That feels like a constant theme that has not gone away. They are they're 1-4. Okay, just had the bye week. I don't think they'll go to 1-5 because they're about to play the Raiders. I think they'll get the win there, especially if Cooper Kupp can come back this week. There's signs that he might be able to. But they do not look good. And along with that is, sure, maybe people get healthy and they come back, but are they going to stay healthy? Even if they come back, doesn't mean they won't get re-injured. It does not look good for the Rams. It just doesn't as of right now. Their one win against the 49ers, that comeback win, heck of a game by Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford. The Cardinals, same deal. Came back against the 49ers, but their two wins are against the Rams and then that game against the 49ers. They got destroyed out of this world by the Commanders the week before the 49ers. And they lost this past week to the Packers. So both teams do not look like they're even going to sniff the playoffs. The only team that's going to make the playoffs out of the NFC West is whoever wins the division. Okay, you're not getting multiple playoff teams. I wouldn't bet out of this division. And it's hard to see either the Rams or the Packers making a long enough run to get it done. Seattle can't play any defense. I know Seattle was 3-0. You look at the opponents they were playing, like context of their schedule matters, and they've now lost 3 in a row. Including, they went toe-to-toe with the Lions. That was really impressive. But then you lose to the Giants, and they didn't even have Malik Neighbors. And then you lose the 49ers, short week. And the theme for those 3 losses is they cannot stop the run. They cannot stop the run. In fact, they just traded for a defensive tackle from the Jaguars, not like some standout blue chipper, but something to give them help because they are having trouble stopping the run. It's hard to take a team seriously if their run defense is that bad. So I have a hard time seeing that with Seattle, but we'll see. And the 49ers, of course, they have the Super Bowl hangover. They've had weird contract holdouts. Ricky Pearsall gets shot a couple weeks before the season starts. Christian McCaffrey just can't get on the field. They've had all these things go against them. They've had 2 horrendous losses, as I've mentioned before, blowing 10-point leads against the Rams and the Cardinals. They got a big win over Seattle. They have a huge game against the Chiefs this weekend. I will talk about that later in the week. But regardless, this division has not been great. They're the only division that doesn't have a team with at least 4 wins. Okay, both Seattle and the 49ers have 3 wins apiece. They're 3-3. Feels like 10-7 could win this division. I'm hoping the Niners will somehow do better than 10-7, but I'm not holding my breath. This has been a weird season, no matter what. Number 3, Doug Peterson, Mike McCarthy, Nick Sirianni. I think it's pretty safe to say all 3 of those guys will be out of a job after this season or before. I have a hard time seeing any of these guys keeping their job beyond this year. I thought Mike McCarthy was maybe going to get fired after that horrible, horrible showing on Sunday against the Lions. Jerry Jones has come out and said he's going to keep him. But all 3 of those guys have been atrocious. And actually, the only reason I think Doug Peterson has a job right now is because they're in London. They played in London, got embarrassed by the Bears. They're playing in London again, playing the Patriots. I think that their owner just doesn't want to make that change while they're still out in London. Doug Peterson is 2-10 in his last 12 regular season games. If you remember, the Jaguars were the best team or the hottest team in the NFL through 11 weeks last year, or 10 weeks. They were 8-3. At one point, the Jaguars were 8-3, and then they went on to lose and finish the season 9-8. So what is that? They went 1-5 down the stretch, missed the playoffs, and they are 1-5 to start this season. You just paid your quarterback, who that is one of the all-time whiffs. What is wrong with Trevor Lawrence? Can anyone fix him? Doug Peterson had some things going with him last year and the year before. They finished the season strong, but it has been terrible the last 12 weeks, and Trevor Lawrence looks broken. I don't think Doug Peterson survives this. It doesn't look like things are going to turn around for them anytime soon. They might be the Patriots this weekend in New England, but things do not look good for Jacksonville. I have a hard time seeing him keep his job. You're not going to fire Trevor Lawrence. You're not going to trade Trevor Lawrence. You're keeping the player that you just committed all this money to. I think it's got to be Doug Peterson out. Maybe you can convince like Ben Johnson to come be the Jaguars head coach and fix that whole situation. I don't know, but it doesn't look good. Mike McCarthy, I know they're 3-3, but their 3 losses have been terrible. Their 3 losses have looked like non-competitive. One of those losses, blowout loss to the Saints, who do not look very good right now. You were getting boat raced by the Ravens early. I know you came back to make it a game, but early on it looked like lifeless, didn't even come to play, and then we know what happened on Sunday. It's like they're not even showing up to play and compete. Their 3 wins are the Browns, the Giants, and then they did have the win on the road in Pittsburgh. That is a decent win, though Pittsburgh is coming back to earth a little bit. But regardless, I think that it's run its course with Mike McCarthy. And I don't think that they're going to make enough noise to keep his job. Now, they could sneak into the playoffs. I don't know at this point. They're playing a first-place schedule. They have a bye week this week. Then they play San Francisco, and then they play Atlanta. They have some tough games still on their schedule. So I could see them missing the playoffs at this point. A whiff by me. I thought they were going to win the division. And then Nick Sirianni. Nick Sirianni is a child. I've missed a lot on my predictions this offseason, but this is one I'm going to take a victory lap on. I know the Eagles are 3-2. They do not look good. Eagles fans, you do not feel good about your team. You're booing Sirianni, and Sirianni is just a child guy.
Hey, I don't hear anymore. Chiefs fans. See ya.
He is the problem. You cannot be a good team when your biggest problem is your head coach. When your biggest problem is your head coach is a child that like yells and talks crap to the fans. Like, I have hammered this home in previous videos, but Nick Sirianni is a child. He is the problem. He cannot, like, if I were the owner, I would let Sirianni go right now, even after a win. I'd be like, look, man, you are the problem. It's not like you're a really good head coach, but every now and then you have a couple weird things where you do some immature things, but we can look the other way. Like, you are the thing that is holding this team back. And on top of it, you do things like yell at the crowd from the sideline and get into it with the crowd from the sideline. I would just be like, look, man, I don't have faith that the team as it is going to win a Super Bowl this year. I'm more than okay letting you go because you put a bad stain, a bad look on our organization. And I'm just putting my foot down. I'm not doing it anymore. That would be my suggestion. Regardless, he's gone. That's number 3. I think Doug Peterson, Mike McCarthy, Nick Sirianni, all 3 of them are out of jobs come the offseason. Number 4 on my list of things that we can at least say for sure about the NFL is the roughing the passer penalty is ruining football right now. It is ruining football. Now, the NFL is not going to go away because of it. But if you watched that Monday Night Football game last night, there was an egregious roughing the passer committed on Aaron Rodgers and an egregious one committed on Josh Allen. When I say egregious, I don't mean it was this incredibly violent hit. I mean, it was the most routine sacks you've ever seen, and the flags were thrown. And to the point where Rodgers in his press conference, he's mad about the loss and everything, but he's asked about it, and he says something, I don't remember the quote, but he says the effect like that was a soft call. You can see him where they did a slow-mo of him after he's getting up and he's talking to Espinoza, who sacked him on the play and got the flag. He kind of looks at him and says, that's a soft call, bro. And Rodgers in his press conference just says, man, this is getting out of control, essentially. And it is getting out of control. I understand you have to protect the quarterback. The NFL will go as far as the quarterbacks will go. It is not good business to have Skylar Thompson in there. I understand that. But guys, there has to be a line drawn. There has to be a point where we say, look, it's football. We have to live with it. The easiest fix for me, and I've been saying it for a couple years, I am so anti-penalties being reviewed, except the roughing the passer call. And guess what? They expedite these calls now all the time. You saw it last night. There was a down the field man, ineligible man down the field penalty thrown on the Bills. Immediately, 5 seconds later, picked up because the booth reviewed it. That is what needs to happen. If you are not going to just let the quarterbacks be football players, you have to, every roughing the passer call has to be reviewed immediately, expedited, up in the booth. Doesn't need to take a long time. We don't need to stop the game. But like, this is getting out of hand. It is absolutely getting out of hand. Yes, reviewing calls slows the game down, but look at how this affects the game. I have seen this, like, I've seen 49ers games when they first started making this initiative. You guys probably remember this. 49ers Saints, Ahmad Brooks. This is like 2014, 2013 maybe. Ahmad Brooks comes in, sacks Drew Brees, and it's that famous picture, that famous gif of like, he doesn't get him in the head or the neck even, he gets him in the chest, and Drew Brees' neck does like that thing. You guys probably remember that. That was a sack on third down. I think it was a fumble maybe. It would have pushed it would have ended the game essentially, or it would have drastically improved the Niners' chances of winning. The Saints were trying to go down and score, but a flag was thrown. All he did was hit him in the chest, and it changed the game. Saints went on to win the game, and it just changed the game. That is such an egregious call, and they throw that flag so often now, it has to be reviewed. Expedited review. I will willingly, gladly wait and watch a longer football game if you will just get these roughing the passer calls correct, because it is getting out of control. Fine, throw the flag. Fine, but if you let someone review it, say, no, he didn't get hit in the head. Yes, he landed on him, but it wasn't egregious. Like, it just was a normal tackle. 5 seconds, no, pick up the flag, move on. I think all NFL fans would be all right with it, but it needs to be an automatic review. Everyone needs to be an automatic review because the refs are getting out of control. And number 5, this is the worst one. Number 5, things we can say that we're confident about this drunk 2024 NFL season. Guys, the Chiefs are probably just going to win the Super Bowl. All of this is for naught. All of it is in vain. All the analyzing and hopefulness for our teams, guys, they're probably just going to win it again. I say that because of this. If they weren't going to win it, it was going to be last year. Last year, they looked like they had some real problems. They went 11-6. They were the 3 seed. They just kind of found it in the playoffs. They turned it on. This year, they are not playing good football. They're not playing good football. Defensively, they're playing really good football. I should say that. Offensively, they're not. Pat Mahomes, I should have looked it up. I think he's like 6 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, or 7 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Like, he's not playing great. We haven't seen the old Pat Mahomes since Tyreek Hill left, for the most part. I guess he was still really good in 22. But those amazing, like, 350 passing yards, 4 touchdown games, like, we have not seen that from Pat Mahomes. Even in the playoffs, like, he played really well in the playoffs. I'm not saying he's bad. I'm saying he doesn't have the weapons he used to. They're playing the game different. They're calling the game different because they have to. And you're not seeing these crazy games by Pat Mahomes. And he's turning the ball over. He's turning the ball over, Chiefs fans. I know it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things because he's going to go to the playoffs. They're going to find ways to win games, and they'll probably win the Super Bowl. But you have to admit, like, he is not playing as good as he's played in the past. But I'm just saying, regardless, like, they're just going to find ways to win. That's what they do. They find ways to win. And there's nothing we can do about it. You have Andy Reid, you have Pat Mahomes, just ice in his veins, and he just finds ways to win. Now, they're not going to go undefeated. That doesn't matter. They're not going to go undefeated, though, Chiefs fans. Definitely not playing like this. If they continue to play this one-score football like they have, they're not going to go undefeated. But they'll probably be the 1 seed, the worst, the 2 seed, and they'll just win some really close games, and they'll be Super Bowl champions, and they'll three-peat, and then we can all just be mad. And if you're like me, you'll just look forward to baseball season because you're tired of watching the Chiefs win. Especially if you're a 49ers fan, you're tired of the Chiefs winning. That's what I got for you. So those are the 5 things we can look forward to. Tomorrow night, Wednesday, we are going, I guess you might see this on Wednesday. Wednesday night, we're going to have our live preview. Sorry I was gone last week. Had some things come up. But we'll do Wednesday night preview. Thursday, I'll come up with something, more videos, and let's enjoy football season before the Chiefs win it, and we can all just be pissed about that. We'll see you next time.